Simon & Schuster Volume presents My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. Read by Kara G.
To Deborah Hill, thank you, from all of us. The slasher film lies by and large beyond the purview of the respectable. Carol J.
Hello you guys, welcome back. Today is day 5, I believe, of Summerween. But today's video is going to be day 5 and part of day 6 for you guys to see, because I have a special plan for the next 24-ish plus hours. I'm looking like this because of today's plans. I also apologize. Today is probably just going to be a little loud. I'm going to come in here whenever I need to do quick check-ins or little things here and there because the house is rather loud with everyone home. If you haven't checked out my previous videos, you definitely should. I've posted day 1 and 2 together and then 3 and 4 together. Although day 4 was kind of a quick little get out of town day. I didn't read like anything yesterday. I did say that this was like my current read at the end of that video just for the daily prompt, but also to kind of give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek as to what I was going to be starting next, although you guys do know my TBR. But yeah, check out the first video for my full TBR, or you can check out my last one because it was a really fun day. Day 3 and day 4 was good too. But I'm so excited to be back home and reading. Today is going to be just a relax day. That's plan number 1. Plan number 2 is to read at least 50% of My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. This is a reread I mentioned in the first Summerween vlog. This is a reread for me because I have yet to read book 2 or 3 in the trilogy. So my goal this summer is to read the other 2 as well, but I read this I think like last October. I kind of want to have a little bit of a fresh mindset with a reread. Plan number 2 for this first part is to pick out a mask. I'm wanting to do some masking today. I don't want anything that's too rough on my skin, but I definitely am needing a situation going on right now. Ooh, I think I'm going to try this one from Origins. It's their original skin retexturizing mask with rose clay. And I might do kind of like a hydrating like sheet mask or something afterward. That's kind of like what I usually like to do after like a clay mask that's going to kind of dry down a little bit more. Plan number 3 is to finish one of the prompts, which is watch horror movies or watch a horror movie. But I'm going to make it a horror movie marathon with James today. And I am super excited because any chance that I have to just sit down and binge horror movies, I'm here for. The idea came to me when thinking about filling that prompt for one, but also knowing that like I picked My Heart is a Chainsaw as a reread to refreshen my mind about the story before I finish the trilogy. But what this book is about a girl who is obsessed with like horror movies. I think it'll be a perfect pick to like read and watch horror movies throughout the day as I go. You won't find a more hardcore 80s slasher film fan than high school senior Jade Daniels. And you won't find a place less supportive of girls who wear torn t-shirts and too much eyeliner than Proof Rock. Nestled 8,000 feet up in a mountain in Idaho alongside Indian Lake, home to both Camp Blood, site of a massacre 50 years ago, and as of this summer, Terra Nova, a second home celebrity Camelot being carved out of a national forest. That's not the only thing that's getting carved up though. This, Jade knows, is the start of a slasher, but what kind? Who's wearing the mask? Jade's got an encyclopedic recall of every horror movie on the shelf, but will that help her survive? Can she get a final girl trained enough to stop all this from happening? Does she even want to? Isn't a slasher exactly what her hometown deserves? So Jade is a horror enthusiast like myself, and I'm going to take her recommendations today as I read, I guess, well, today and tomorrow, because I am going to sleep like a normal human being tonight, hopefully. And then just continue it tomorrow because my plans for day 5 and day 6 are just to take it easy. So that's what I'm going to do. I have a lot on the to-do list today in between reading. So while I'm watching movies, I usually like to multitask and do stuff. So I have some old like projects like crocheting and cross stitching that I still have not finished that I think I'm just going to pick up and work on here and there when I need to. I could journal. I also have some editing I can do. Maybe if I'm doing like a rewatch of a movie I've watched recently or like a classic that I've seen many times, which is the first one for sure. Because I made it. I kind of have a little bit of a beginning scene in this book of, you know, a kind of like a beginning of a slasher movie where like the first deaths happen or whatever. You kind of get that in the first 10 pages. And then we're introduced to Jade Daniels. And I will say I was a little confused on how I should do this because my idea was to read My Heart is a Chainsaw, and every time Jade references a horror movie, I'm going to pause and watch said horror movie. But upon starting this book, she, on page 12, which is actually page 2 for when we're introduced to Jade, she mentions not only personal boogeyman, and we know that Michael Myers is the boogeyman, or, and I quote, Freddy'd his face up. So then I'm like, and then there's Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street. So I was like, should I go ahead and watch them, or should I wait until the movie name is actually referenced? And James had a really good point of saying maybe you should like read until the movie is referenced, like the actual title, so that you actually get reading in today, Allie. And I was like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. Because I can't remember for sure when I read this last if she had mentioned the actual movie titles or if it was just kind of like those type of references. So I kept reading, and she does in fact name actual movies. So here we go. Page 15. She mentions Alice, and she says, Alice, the final girl from Friday the 13th, has sort of orange hair, doesn't she? And she kind of has like a pinkish, or a peachish blonde type of hair. But that is what we're starting with today, is Friday the 13th. And she even says, this is Friday the 13th, after all, the holiest of the holies. So I'm excited to start with Friday the 13th. It's been a minute since we watched this one. I think we watched it sometime last year, but it is a classic. I've watched it many times. And I really want to get up day 1 and 2 because I just realized that I'm going to be slicing this vlog all up into different parts instead of just posting it as one because my footage was getting so long. So my goal is to get day 1 and day 2 edited and uploaded during this rewatch of Friday the 13th, 1980s, because that is who she is referencing here. And do a little masking. After this is done, I'm going to wash it off and do like a hydrating mask. And then we'll see what Jade recommends next. I got trouble looking people in the eye, 'cause when I do I just forget off. I wanna do it, I'ma feel like I'm a die. Trouble looking people in the eye, 'cause when I do I just forget all. I wanna do it, I'ma feel like I'ma die. Back to reading it is. I literally, I think, turned the page. It felt like maybe a couple pages. But we have not 1, but 2 movie references, so I already know what we're going to be watching next. We did finish Friday the 13th. I also got my video uploaded. I got my thumbnail, my description box, everything. I still need to post it in my stories, so I'm going to do that sometime tonight. But my day 1, day 2 is up, so check it out. I will link that one up above if I haven't already linked it throughout this video. But yeah, I've already found my next 2 watches. We actually watched The Exorcist not too long ago. But even more recently, we watched the new, like, what is it? Exorcist the Believer or whatever, the new one. But this is so funny because it says, sacrilege, she tells anyone who will listen, which is mostly just Mr. Holmes, her state history teacher. You don't remake The Exorcist. You don't sequel Rosemary's Baby, and you don't be disrespectful about soil an actual slasher has walked across. I'm like, so true. I don't think The Exorcist needed the movie that we got. I'm not going to talk about it long because that's a different video. That's a different thing. Maybe I'll review it on Letterboxd or something, but we just recently watched it, so when I reread this, I was like, yes. There was a lot of bits of the movie that I did enjoy, don't get me wrong. I think that for the most part, the makeup special effects was really, really good. The other special effects could have been better. I liked the ritualistic, spiritual woman that kind of did some of the like exorcism. I thought that that was really cool. But I just could not get over some of the other things that were going on in it. Being super excited for people to be back in the franchise after that many years is one thing, but whenever their storyline, their character's storyline in the movie sucks that bad, it's just like, was it even worth it? I don't know. I ranted about it the other night to James. He got an earful about it, but I wasn't the biggest fan. I don't think it was terrible, but I wasn't the biggest fan of it. But we do like the classics, so we get to now watch The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby, which is going to be a time. And it's also about time for dinner. I did forget to mention in the last check-in that the boys are doing their own movie days as well. So they both wrote down 3 movies apiece, and we shuffled them up, and they've been drawing them randomly. And it's so cute because they get so excited to see what movie they get to do next. And earlier, they watched a movie with popcorn, and then with their second movie, they're going to bring dinner into their room and have like picnic-style dinner. And then maybe their third movie, they have candy and chips and stuff that we picked up earlier, some different snacks. And we're kind of doing the same thing. I have a few things to get done, and dinner to get done. We're making some of James's corn salad. It's kind of like this like salsa, like corn salad. And then we have some leftover burgers from grilling. So yeah, that's what's for dinner. It's going to be very easy, simple. We're relaxing today. And we're going to watch The Exorcist.
From the servant of God. It's the power. Holy water. Oh, Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you.
Let us share my story. If you hear this song, no, it's not you, it's me. I'm sorry.
Alright, let me pick
I
one.
don't
Don't
wanna
look.
be the reason why you make this little lie. What's the point of having pointless conversations?
Better give me credit.
For one night?
You want me to leave that?
I never wanna show my face sometimes, and I got trouble looking people in the eye. 'Cause when I do, I just forget
Want that one?
I wanna do it, I don't feel like
that's
I'm
one.
die. I never wanna show my face sometimes, and I got trouble looking people in the eye. 'Cause when I do, I just forget off. And when I do it, I don't feel like I'ma die.
Oh, I know that house. The Gilmores used to live there.
Oh?
Yeah. Oh, I've been there lots of times. Grace, that's one of my favorite names.
Yes?
Yeah. You need anything?
Nothing, thank you.
Take a nap, why don't you?
I'm going to.
Yeah, come on.
am fed. We have watched The Exorcist, and we have started Rosemary's Baby, and then our internet just crashed. So currently waiting for the internet to like come back on. It's been insane lately how many crashes we've had. But we are watching it on our Amazon Prime, so we're just gonna have to wait for that to kick back in. A little block in the road today, but that's okay. It gives me a minute to come in here and maybe look a little bit more presentable for my next check-ins. I'm going to just do a very minimal makeup tonight. I have been trying out the new Lumi Glotion from L'Oreal. This is the lightest shade, and I just kind of put it on my face, kind of like primer, but just mainly focusing on like those highlight areas. But under concealer or BB cream, it kind of just looks highlighted in certain areas, so it works out. And I think I'm just gonna do concealer today, not BB too. I really like the Anastasia Beverly Hills. I just have like my samples still, but it's been holding on and going strong. Go a little bit more heavy with it whenever I'm not wearing like my BB cream, but also still use the concealer for like contouring, bronzing a little bit, so kind of makes up for that. And then my Tower 28 spray, just to make it easier to blend. I'm gonna go back to Rosemary's Baby, but I am wanting to read to get to my next story. So we're gonna see what's coming next, and what we're watching after Rosemary's Baby. So I'm going to finish my makeup, don't mind me, listen to the audiobook while I do so, see what movie is after Rosemary's Baby.
I think that I'm feeling sick from all this automatic driving to your house. I'm gonna die in LA traffic, watch me crash my fucking car into your couch. Don't wanna finish up this episode before you cut me out. I'm still done cause I'm way. You can never take me. I'm just living life, I guess a bottle wouldn't break me. Thinking about 1,000 reasons why you probably hate me.
Alright, we're already hitting pause, just like a page or two later. And she just mentioned the Candyman and that tribal seal by the address. She saved it, kept it hidden alongside her Candyman tape. Definitely have Candyman. Okay guys, I'll lower you a little bit. I finished my makeup. We finished Rosemary's Baby. Such an unhinged movie. Oh my god, I love it. But we are sitting down trying to figure out our next movie. And I know I told you guys Candyman earlier, so I'm looking at that right now. But I'd also seen another movie mentioned a couple of times. So a little check-in. I'm about to go to bed, so I thought I would check in before I go and like wash this minimal makeup off, or that I literally put on for a few hours. We did not end up watching Candyman, and I literally had a breakdown since I seen you guys last, which is why I'm looking like this. I needed to just chill out for a little bit, and so I did try picking up the book and reading, and I only made it that far. And I'm just coming to terms and realization that this, not really goal, but like plan is just not realistic and not something I can pull off. I've been taking notes on my iPad as I go, and you guys, at this point, it's literally like so creatively insane the amount of horror movie references Stephen Graham Jones has put into this book. And I'm just blown away again. And I'm thinking back and I'm trying to remember back when I first read this book. I think it was in October of last year. And I'm pretty sure I was just as like blown away by it. But like, I don't know, for some reason it's hitting different this time. And I was thinking about it and I was like, I'm pretty sure I gave this book 4 stars. May it turn around and be a 5-star now for me. I'm just enjoying it so much and I'm not even that far in. whatsoever. I'm just really enjoying it this read through. I don't know if it's because I am taking my time a little bit more and not rushing as much, although I am kind of on a time crunch with this being a readathon and still having 2 more books after this one, and it's day 5. Well, technically day 6 because it's already after midnight, but I'm taking notes. You guys can't see, but so far I am literally on page 29. Like I said, I have not done a whole lot of reading. Breakdown. It is what it is. But the movies mentioned already, and some of these I've never even heard of before. This is probably when I was just like under a rock. But Friday the 13th, The Exorcist, Rosemary's Baby, which we got to all of them. Then there's Candyman, The Burning, Camp Blood, which in fact is, I guess, a horror franchise that like I did not put 2 and 2 together with that. And I started looking it up and I could not find the original just Camp Blood unless you like just pay, I think like for the DVD or order the DVD. Unfortunately, Friday the 13th, Part 3 was mentioned, Twisted Nightmare, Schizoid, Mother's Day, and The Shining. So that's just so far. So anyways, I was kind of taking a break, or after like a whole internet crashing thing, me kind of having a meltdown, and just wanting a little bit of time just to sit down and read, and I made it through a few more pages than where I was at, and writing down that many, it just kind of clicked to me that like this is not an attainable goal for this video as much as I want it to be. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm still going to watch hopefully a couple more horror movies tomorrow. The boys have went to bed, James has went to bed, so I think I'm gonna call it a night. I might read for a little bit more before I go to bed, but I would love to still watch a couple of these tomorrow, and then the rest I'm going to keep as a little to watch. And they're still going to be like the ones recommended from Jade or from Stephen Graham Jones in the future, and maybe even put them with other video ideas and other horror things in the future, because I definitely want to start building up my horror watch list and get back into it, because I feel like for the longest time I just fell out of it, and then I watched them here and there, but a lot of the time when I sit down to watch a horror movie, I just put on the good classics or my favorite over and over and over again, which is fine, but I do kind of want to broaden that and watch more movies like I was last year, because I have so many new favorites and I was just under a rock for so long at so many great movies. So yeah, but I watched some classics today, movies I've already seen, but still enjoyed the rewatch. Tomorrow, I don't know which way I'm leaning. These movies are just all over the place. There's so many different ones, and I'm sure there's going to be a Scream reference. I'm sure there's going to be a Nightmare on Elm Street reference. So I kind of feel like those are good, like slasher ones to watch for, you know, this book. So we will see. I'm going to leave you guys there for the night, make a little bit more progress, because I really wanted to make it like 50% of the way, and I don't think that's going to happen. But I am going to continue making the list of every movie that's referenced in this, and maybe end up making like an Instagram post about it, like shouting it out, because I was trying to Google it ahead of time, and somebody had listed maybe like 8 movies that were mentioned in this. There is a lot more than just 8 movies mentioned in this book. And other people saying that they were having a hard time finding a list and didn't want to have to sit down and go through the book themselves and find all the movies. So I thought, why not 2 birds with 1 stone? I'm going to do it and make it into an Instagram post maybe for others who want to know all the references or all the movies that are mentioned. Hopefully I don't miss any. I'll try my best, you guys. But that's it. Besides that, I've made a little bit more progress on my blanket that I've been working on for years at this point. I'm working on the border now. You guys will see it in an upcoming video that I've been working on it while reading a series. It matches the series, so that might tell you what it is. And if you stay tuned to my Instagram, you'll see what the series is as well. Besides that, you guys, James did go pick up some different candy and stuff for our movies. I did snack on a little bit of gummy sour Skittles, but I'm just not feeling my best tonight. I went downhill really bad, and I'm gonna try to make the most of tonight and then hopefully wake up fresh and new tomorrow. One last little like horror story for you guys tonight. Well, it was like a horror for me because it scared the absolute shit out of me. So behind our house, we have like an alley, and that's normally where we walk our dog. So tonight I took her and I'm walking around the alley because she has this thing where she does not like to poop in our yard. It's a whole ordeal. So anyways, we walk around the alley so that she can poop somewhere else. And there's a forest, like wooded area, so it's kind of nice. Anyways, I'm walking her and I am telling you guys, it was probably, I don't even know how many feet. Not that many. Like it was almost right in front of us. These two little deer walk out. And I'm like, oh, so cute. Not scared, nothing like that. I'm like, oh, so cute. And I'm like, oh, crap. You know, like Riley's going to start barking and it's late, you know, and she's going to spook these poor deer. She doesn't. She just freezes and she stares at them. And then the mama deer like walks out. And then they just, all these doe just keep on walking. And they just cross into the woods. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, maybe they'll be fine. We'll just walk by and they'll just stay in that wooded area. We'll just walk by. So I start walking and this huge buck walks out. Scares the shit out of me. I love deer, but I've seen the videos of them getting spooked and just literally just like jumping at people or, you know, not meaning to hurt anybody, but just like, they're like me. They get scared at the littlest like drop of a hat. So anyways, then of course Riley starts barking and oh my gosh, we had to book it home. I just turned around, I was like, nope, we're going home. Like, you're just gonna have to poop in the yard. It is what it is tonight. But it scared me. It was my little horror moment tonight because it really got my heart rate up. That's for sure.
I've been thinking about topics to talk about, to sort it out and make it right in my head. Now that it's been longer, know that I was wrong for thinking that you always had a place in mind. Is this what I had in mind? Guess that I found my pit. God, I hope you take me. I'm just living life, I guess a bottle wouldn't break me.
Hello you guys, I am doing a lot better today, but I have not really checked in because I've been doing the thing. So I've made much more progress on my book. Okay, don't mind my bookmark. I have so many bookmarks and I'm using a piece of paper that was torn from my son's movie list for their movies they're watching. And that's just what I've been using. But look how much progress, you guys. I only have that much left. So excited. I want to talk about it in a minute, but I did want to say before I forget, today we watched, I've been busy. I've been editing. I'm currently, if you hear a fan, it's not a fan, it's my laptop about to take flight. It is currently like exporting a portion of this vlog that you guys are watching because I am trying to stay ahead on my editing because I know that today and the plans that I have for tonight going into tomorrow that you guys will see in my next vlog, let's just say by tomorrow night I'm going to be dead to the world. So I'm trying to get ahead of that and get ahead of the editing. So I've been editing all morning. Afternoon, I've been sleeping in because I've been so tired every day after Summerween. And then I feel like I don't have much of my day left, and I think that's where the meltdown came from yesterday. So I'm trying to avoid another one. I have it completely edited up until this point. So I'm doing so good. Made so much progress on this, and I am absolutely loving this book. We watched Friday the 13th Part 2 today. So what we have decided to do, or I say we, but me, and James is just watching along with me, is she as in Jade, the main character in this book, mentions Friday the 13th, I don't know how many times. More than I feel like any other movie franchise put together. So I decided to just go ahead and do my little Friday the 13th Jason movie marathon to wrap up this vlog, and that's what I'm gonna do. Part 2 was quite the ride. I don't remember this movie, so I don't know if this is one that I had always just skipped or never really watched. Bits and pieces like came back to me because like it seems so familiar, but at the same time I'm like the whole time I was watching I was like, I really don't know if I've seen this, and I can't really pinpoint if it's better or worse than the first one, although I did like the concept of it actually being Jason, and I do think the mask on the head is really cool. I actually oh, my phone's right here. I actually screenshot this the other day. I forgot what day he posted it. So this wasn't supposed to be any type of like planned situation going on where I seen this post and was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do Friday the 13th marathon or anything like that. I just happened to screenshot this and then I remembered it after I watched this movie. But Grady Hendrix posted this, like the cover of the movie cover for Friday the 13th Part 2. And he said, if it was 1981, this would be opening weekend for the best Friday the 13th installment. Baghead Jason is the scariest Jason, and you get two awesome final girls in one movie, Adrienne King and Amy Steele. This is the movie that inspired my book, Final Girl Support Group. I just thought that was really cool because I didn't know that that was the movie that kind of like inspired that. I did enjoy that book. It's not my favorite from him, but I did enjoy it a lot. Obviously, I have a thing for final girls. And so I did enjoy it. I think I enjoyed the same aspects that he kind of did. I think the Baghead Jason is pretty creepy, although I do prefer his mask. And really bummed that I couldn't find my Jason clip today because I wanted to wear it. I have like a Jason claw clip. But yeah, I think that's it on Part 2. I do kind of want to tier rank these movies by the end of this vlog, so hopefully I'll be able to, but the first two movies I'm just like so stumped because Jason isn't really a huge part of the first movie, and I feel like I didn't really care for many of the characters in either movie enough to really determine which ones I liked more, and I don't know, they're neck and neck, so I'm gonna have to see. I know I've seen Part 3, but it's been over a decade. I'm excited for it. Besides that, you guys, to wrap up this little check-in, I'm absolutely loving this book. I feel like I can talk more about it later when I finish it. I don't know what my headspace was when I first read this book, but I don't remember loving this as much as I do right now. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I was really triggered by it and I kind of blacked it out because there's so many things. It's almost like I dissociated the whole thing because I remember reading it and I remember bits and pieces of it. But now as I'm doing like this reread, I swear it's like I'm reading it all over again for the first time. It's incredible in a way, but I'm also just like, what the did I read? Because like, I don't know. It's also giving me this like really strange, like, is it FOMO? But like, I feel like I should reread every book I've ever read because I'm like, oh my gosh, what if it's like a completely different experience every single time with every book? I'm spiraling and trying to stop myself, but I'm having such a good time with this. I cannot wait to wrap up my thoughts on it and talk to you guys about it. Last thing I will say right now about this book is I tallied up how many books from the beginning to this point that have been mentioned, and it is a grand total of 62. I really thought I could watch 62 movies in the span of 48 hours. In my defense, I thought it was way less, but it is, again, creatively insane how many movie references are in this book. and my list is never ending now of movies to watch. I'm going to try to finish this book. We are going to watch Friday the 13th Part 3. And then I'm gonna hopefully join in on Katie's sprints. Part of them are gonna be like while we're watching the movie, and then hopefully part of them will be actually being able to utilize them to finish out this book.
That's why you probably hate me. And if you pull up, I'll be your biggest fan, shoulda, coulda. I'm thinking about the past and if I would, leave it stood a chance when before was on my dash. No, it only made me crash. I know I shoulda. I'd be your biggest fan, shoulda, coulda. I'm thinking about the past and if I would. Silence between words I try to tie in a text and a call and a driving on top of it all.
So I am getting my steps in. It's starting to get dark. It's gonna be a long night, so I wanted to check in really quick because this might be my last check-in before I actually officially update you guys on the book. I had to stop, take my ghost face sweatshirt off because it's so hot, get my water. I am at the very end of the book, so I'm going to go ahead and finish it with my walk, and then I am hoping to watch the 4th Friday the 13th. I forgot what it's called. I think it's like the end of the final chapter or something like that of the first 4 movies, so that I can still tier rank them for you guys and hopefully like post on Letterboxd. And give you guys my thoughts on My Heart is a Chainsaw. I'm still loving it. But yeah, that is the check-in. This might be my final check-in before the end of this vlog. We're almost there, but I'm going to wake myself up a little bit on the treadmill because, like I mentioned earlier, I'm in for a long night with my next vlog. So stay tuned. Last check-in, I promise. I look like a hot mess right now because I got my walk in. I just did a little over a mile, and then I watched the final chapter, Friday the 13th, and also finished my book. It is getting rather late. I'm about to start filming the next vlog and jump into that, so I have to be quick and wrap this up with you guys. I have taken so many notes on my iPad, you guys. It's not even funny. I need to sit down and tally up the movie references a little bit better. So I will do that and hopefully still do like an Instagram post or something with it is what I'm hoping. There's no way I'm going to be able to list all of these movies in one Instagram post even. So that's why it's so hard to like, I don't know. I might just have this list just randomly for my own sake and for my own use. I guess if anybody else wants it, I can send it your way. But yeah, there's so many. There's over 70 movies that were mentioned throughout this book, which is absolutely insane. Stephen Graham Jones is just such a genius. He is appalling that Allie from 2023 gave this book a 4-star because this is a 5-star. I just feel so much for Jade. Although my past and things that happened to me weren't exact aligned with hers, I have went through something very traumatic as a child that I feel like could still somewhat be triggering while reading this, and that's where I do just want to say, check your triggers on this one for sure. It is very jarring at certain points, just how almost not taboo they make, or he makes it with the story, which on one end of the spectrum I really like because it just like, it's like ripping the band-aid off and just kind of exposing it and being like, this happens to so many people and it needs to be talked about more. But there's also that part of you where if you're not in that good mental health space, I would just beware because you don't want it to be a bad trigger for you either. I feel like he did it in a very amazing way, and I also just want to say, if you read this book, if you make it through this entire book, do not skip the acknowledgement section. It's incredible. If you have the audiobook, Stephen Graham Jones actually reads it, and it was incredible. Not only does he talk about his love for slashers, mentioning a bunch of the movies in it, and what inspired him with this book, how long he's been writing this book, and keeps shelving it because he's like, it could be better, or it's not its time yet. How he came across a news article about a Native girl who went through something very tragic, which ends up being Jade's story, and showing the light on it, and how he words everything is just so incredible. By the end of this book, I was tearing up again, and then I get to the acknowledgements, and I cried, like, just like kind of reminiscing about like horror movies with him, because he's so passionate about it, but then also like tearing up talking about this Native girl, her story, like how he wanted to, like, you know, write the story. And then also even at just the very end, I think I mentioned this the last time I read this, and it literally pulls at the heartstrings every time. He thanks his wife Nancy, who had to get up really early in the morning for her job, but she would stay up super late watching all the horror movies with him because he was too afraid to watch them by himself. And he thanks her for keeping him safe all those nights, and that the only time he hasn't been wrong was when he told her that maybe we could make a life together and grow old holding each other's hands. My heart is a chainsaw, yes, but you're the one who starts it. Oh, so sweet. Oh my god. His acknowledgements just pulls the whole story together, and it is a fun ride. You guys, it's a slasher, there's gory bits, and Jade is very confusing at times, but she is such a young, troubled girl, just like really going through it, and has so many wounds that have not been able to even start healing yet. So you come to realize that, and I feel like trying to get in that headspace, you can understand her a little bit more and where she's coming from. And I'm super excited to continue it and see where her story goes. Anyways, all of that to say, this book is absolutely incredible. The story's incredible, the writing's incredible, all the horror movie references. If you are a Final Girl lover and a horror fanatic, you will absolutely eat this book up. If you love slashers and just 70s, 80s, 90s, even 2000s and on book references or movie references, horror movie slashers in particular, you will just absolutely love this. It's so creative and so well done. 5 stars. Amazing book. Honestly, I just feel like I'm at my prime time to read this too, but this is probably going to be in my top 10 books of the year. I loved it so much, and I am just shocked it wasn't last year. Shocked. Anyways, to wrap up this video, you guys, I watched the first for Friday the 13th, and such a wild time it was. I actually tuned out so much of the final chapter because it was so rough at times. Was there really even a plot to it, is the question. So I thought I would get on my little freeform app and literally make a whole system to not only review, but like rate and rank and like talk about what I did like, what I didn't like about the movies. And the first one, which was 1980s, I like that it has all of the gory things a slasher needs. I like that we have a final girl. The franchise is the birth story of Jason and everything that happened, although I didn't like the fact that Jason's not really in the movie that much. I also didn't like the fact that, like, these characters are just so unlikable, besides Alice, but even at times, Alice is kind of annoying too, so it just made the overall group of people, I feel like, okay for a slasher because you know that they're all about to be dead. But at the same time, like, I do kind of like when you still like certain characters, at least a little bit. I like that there's also that little cliffhanger to where we can go into a sequel, and it felt more, although it's 1980, it would definitely feels like a 1970s slasher. For the first two movies, I feel like part 3 is when we really start getting those 80s vibes with music, just how they dress and talk, and even the whole like dialogue of the movie, like it just seems so much more like an 80s movie by the third one versus the first and second, which I did end up liking the first and second more. And part 2, I like the fact that it is like a baghead Jason. It is scary, but at the same time, I miss the hockey mask. I am so glad the hockey mask became a thing with part 3 and then moving forward. I like that Jason is in it more. I like the homage to Mrs. Voorhees still. And I like that they still were keeping it Camp Crystal Lake. So there's still camp counselors going out to Camp Crystal Lake. You still have the cabins. They're sitting around a campfire talking about the story of Jason and Mrs. Voorhees, and there's all of that still in it. Again, it still kind of feels like a 1970s slasher. It's giving more like Halloween vibes. Still not really likable characters. You don't really feel like too attached to any of them. And it doesn't stand out enough from the first one to really make that much more of a difference for me to be like, oh yeah, this one was better. I do think the sequel was bloodier. Then the franchise really went downhill with the third one, although it's so funny and so laughable at times that it makes it for such an entertaining watch. We were cracking up the whole time. I haven't seen this movie in so long. So many scenes, especially like the death scenes, like definitely came back to me as I was watching it. I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. I literally wrote, I like that it's goofy, silly, and unserious. Sometimes it's super great, but I also put that as a negative. Goofy, silly, unserious. Sometimes it was awful. Also, the characters, I feel like were so much more entertaining in this movie, but they were so cruel and just heartless to each other. There was like so many body image jokes and just making fun of people and a lot of like degrading towards the women. And I feel like most of these, but just some of these comments, I was just like, whoa, like these people just backhanding each other. There's also really just weird with this one and the fourth, there was so much of the like sexual side of things, trying to put in so many pointless scenes that didn't do anything for the plot either. And if anything, they were just so cringy and just weird that I was like, why? Weird slide plots in this with the motorcycle gang was just very confusing and at the same time hilarious, but I could have done without. And again, there's just not a whole lot going on with the plot here either. And I feel like this is where they started gravitating away from like the cabins. We're still at the lake with this one and the fourth one, but there's not like the cabin vibes. Now there's like a barn, but it's just like, it's not giving Camp Crystal Lake. It's not giving camp counselors getting ready for a camp season. It just felt off from the franchise. This one, I did like the 80s vibes. I thought it was kind of a little bit refreshing from the first two because I feel like if it stuck too close to the second one, it would have felt the same in a way. Have a little bit of that refreshing moment with having the 80s vibes with music and clothes and just how everything went with this movie. I like that the hockey mask is introduced, and I like that it came from the silly character who just happened to bring it, and Jason just picks it up. Again, the group of people were more enjoyable, but still not very likable. And that continues into the fourth one, which I think is my least favorite because I was so uncomfortable a huge amount of times. I feel like over half this movie is all these people just skinny dipping and there's just nothing else going on. But I will say the death scenes are so much gorier and just insane in this movie. It was, at times. There was a couple times I was just like, oh my god. I also wrote, where's the plot? Are they no longer camp counselors or at Camp Crystal Lake? Where are the cabins? Where's the vibes? There's just nothing with this movie. What I did like about it is that it is kind of like an end of an era. I think it was a good time to wrap it up because it was going such downhill. It was the bloodiest from the get-go. Corey Feldman was in it, which was really cool and cute. He's like a little kid in it, but I also didn't know how I really felt about that being a dynamic in it, going from the teenagers to then having a little kid thrown in the mix with the cast. But on top of that, this one being the smuttiest out of all of them, and for no reason in most of the scenes, it was just so cringy and just uncomfortable that it was really weird throwing a kid in the mix. To me anyways. I think that it was kind of like slowly building a part of a plot with a brother from one of the past victims from movie 3 coming to have his revenge on Jason, but I feel like it wasn't a very successful plot point because it just didn't go where I feel like it needed to. The gore was insane, and I feel like out of all the final girls, this final girl fought back the most, which was, I feel like, a highlight of this movie. Probably one of the best things about this movie. Which leaves me with saying that I think I would rank them with the way they came out. I think I would say the best one is the first one. You just have all the nostalgic moments with that one. And then the second, and then the third, and then the fourth. I wish that I could say the third or even the fourth was like higher up because we have the full-on Jason moment with the machete and the hockey mask, but it just didn't do it for me like the first two. I think I definitely like those vibes a little bit better, and the way everything was portrayed, I like it being those camp vibes. But I think this video overall was pretty successful, or this full-on couple of days of vlogging. I got to read an incredible book, and I got to watch a lot of horror movies and slashers, and I had such a good time, although my list is never ending now. I hope you guys have been enjoying Summerween. I think it'll be over by the time this video is posted, but I'm having such a good time, and I have one more vlog to go, which I'm about to start, so I will see you guys very soon.